This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Hot air.
Well, let's get back to it.
Porridge making competition? The Spurtle Cup? That sounds awful.
Disgusting.
Spurtle? Oh. What's so hard about making porridge? Any fool can make porridge. You just put porridge in a pan and heat it. Even I can do that. Texts and tweets and emails from yesterday. Mike emails, I feel sorry for poor Larry the cat. He must feel really confused. He's probably seen more prime ministers than mice. Yeah, more rats than mice. Matty texts, I remember Bodge at PMQs referring to the Islington Jackets. I think it may have something to do with the rich Labour voters there that work in the left-wing media. Boo! Or the civil service. An easy target for it. Anyway, how can I join the anti-growth coalition? Do you have to fill out a form? Says Matty. No, you don't. The rich Labour voters and the left-wing media. Who's the left-wing media, by the way? Is it the people that work for the Sun, or the Times, or the Telegraph, or the Mail, or the Star, or the Express? Those lefties. Lara says, Kwarteng has a degree in the history of economics and became Chancellor. It's like someone becoming a surgeon with a degree in the history of medicine. The history of medicine. Yeah, if we ever run out of florins, then we'll know where to go. Crazy Kwarteng will be our man. If you're in need of groats, then he'll know where to find them. Jim says, I think Jonathan from Harrow should run for MP. He speaks my brains. I've got no idea who Jonathan from Harrow is, but I do like the fact that he speaks your brains. Nicely put there, Jim. Natalie says, I watched a bit of the Tory conference this week. Blimey, I've been to funerals with more energy. There's a picture taken from the stage area, which is pointing to the audience. And oh my God, I've never seen a bunch of glummer, more bored people in my life. They hate you, Liz. Anyway, he says, it looked like a bunch of dull people who were briefly roused from their stupor to nod and clap like trained pets. The speakers were clearly given words or catchphrases to include and repeat. Cruella must have said the law-abiding majority about 20 times. Unfortunately, ruling out many of her Tory colleagues. Correctamundo. Now, this isn't my own work. I took this off Twitter and I wrote down the person who came up with this list, but then I forgot to include it on the piece of paper that I'm about to read off. Here's a brief list of some of the Tory MPs who have either been accused of doing something that would get them fired from any other position, or have actually gone to blooming jail for doing something that would have gotten them fired from any other position. Almost all of them still in their roles. Serving you, the people. There's the one that was found to have made repeated unwanted sexual advances. There was the one that broke social distancing rules and had to resign after being caught on camera kissing his aide in a ministerial office.
Disgusting.
There was the one in charge of overseeing the inquiry into lockdown breaches by the government until it transpired that he himself had held a party when it was illegal to do so. There was the one that was suspended from the party after a series of allegations relating to sexual harassment and cocaine use.
Want to score some pot?
No thanks, I'm on the coke tonight. There was the one found guilty of 3 counts of sexual assault and sentenced to prison for 2 years. There was the one found guilty of sexual assault of a 15-year-old boy and sentenced to 18 months in prison. There was the one who sent over 2,000 sexually explicit text messages to 2 female constituents, later found to have raped his wife and subjected her to coercive control. There was the one who resigned after it was found that he had twice watched porn while in the House of Commons. Some of these may ring a bell. There was the one arrested for rape and sexual offences who has been ordered to stay away from the House of Commons while the investigation is ongoing. There was the one to have found to have broken lockdown laws and was fined by the police. There was the one who broke the law when he attended a party at Downing Street while it was illegal, as per his own government laws. He was eventually fired in disgrace after he promoted a sex pest. Do we know which the one that is? There was one found guilty of driving offences, including failure to stop at the scene of an incident. There was the one who resigned after reports emerged he had groped 2 men at a private club. He had previously resigned for doing the same thing. There was one fired from his position in government after allegations of serious misconduct at the Tory conference. There was the one caught on camera assaulting a peaceful protester. There was the one who lied under oath about his family businesses. He's under investigation for lobbying and failure to declare interests. There was the one arrested in August in 2020 but never charged. The woman he assaulted was hospitalised. There was one found to have sent unwanted sexually explicit text messages forcing him to resign his position. There was one caught on camera assaulting a female protester by grabbing her by the neck. There was the one who had to resign after allegations surfaced that he paid a Brazilian male escort for sex and drugs. There was the one suspended for 1 day after she was found to have attempted to influence the outcome of her husband's sexual assault case. There was the one suspended for 1 day after she found to have tried to influence the outcome of the same sexual assault case. There was the one suspended for a day after it was found that he attempted to influence the outcome of that same sexual assault case. There's the one facing a petition for forced bankruptcy by HMRC for unpaid taxes. There was one reported to have fast-tracked at least one contract worth £276 million down the PPVIP lane. Big money, huge. The person who got that contract, by the way, became a Tory donor. Surprising, no?
No.
There was one who was forced to apologise after footage surfaced of him in 2009 flashing his genitalia in a pub. There was the local assembly member who had to resign from a number of positions he held after he was forced to admit that he attended a party at Downing Street in December 2020 when it was illegal to do so. There was one who fast-tracked her own company to a £122 million PPE contract during the COVID pandemic. It also was awarded £80 million contract, and she was given a life peerage and sits in the House of Lords. There was the one who let 3 companies he ran go bust owing money to the taxman. And I've just run out. It's not a political party, it's a crime scene. And nearly all of these people are still Tory MPs.
What?
Can you believe it? What a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
I mean, I am stunned. I think Cruella Braverman needs to investigate her own party. Just look at the people behind you, Cruella. You wouldn't believe it. I am stunned. I mean, wow. Most of those people still in work as your representatives. Are you stunned yet? I mean, can there be another organisation in the entire country that has a criminality running through it like words through Brighton Rock? There can't be another single organisation in the country that has got that many criminal types in it. I mean, good grief. Still, never mind. It's just life. God, isn't it awful? Jenny, these are texts and tweets and emails from last night. Let me see how many pages I have to go through. Oh, only 12 pages. Jenny texts, you've made my day with that impersonation of Betty Davis in Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. I did attempt that yesterday. Uncannily like her, says Jenny. More, please. No, absolutely, Jenny. I don't want to, and you can't make me. I think that was her as well, wasn't it? Pam tweets, parcel arrived today. My daughter has started a new hobby, candle making. She's such an entrepreneur. She'll be giving work colleagues candles for Christmas presents. Well, we all want one of them, Pam. And finally, for the moment, Aid emails. I listened to the 3 most recent of your podcasts this week. It was the ones that I do with Carol McGiffin.
Yeah.
He says, the delivery man on Monday made me laugh until my stomach hurt. I spat my tea out at work and ruined my keyboard. My desk was a mess.
Stop whining.
And my colleagues looked at me like I was a madwoman. Thanks for the laughing, says Aid. It was funny. I mean, it really was. I was doing a podcast with Carol McGiffin. We do one every week. It's called What's Your Problem? With Nick and Carol.
Oh, right, yeah.
And during the course of the podcast that just came out on Monday, Carol had a gentleman caller.
Disgusting.
Not that kind of gentleman caller. What transpired afterwards was so funny. It was, I mean, if we'd written it as a script, we wouldn't have been able to come up with anything that funny. It was priceless. So if we're going to tape again tomorrow, it comes out every Monday. It's called What's Your Problem? With Nick and Carol, in which the idea is that we try to solve people's problems. So if you want us to have a bash at your issue, then send it to this address, nickandcarol@global.com. nickandcarol@global.com, and be prepared for a certain amount of satisfaction. Ask for it by name on an internet near you. What's your problem with Nick and Carol? It's on Global Player, of course, along with the 2 other podcasts that I do. Global Player is free for Apple and Android. It's got all of the stations that we do and a boatload of podcasts as well. It's free. You can also use it just as on your PC, just as a web page. Kids will need to ask their parents what a web page is. It's on something called the Internet. Ask for it by name on an internet near you, assuming that you are lucky enough to have one around your way. What's your problem with Nick and Carol?
Oh, right, yeah.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
I just want to tell you all how happy I am to be back in the studio, making a picture again.
It's a radio show, dear. Brian texts, here we go. Typical left-wing popping at so-called Tory scandals. What about Keir Starmer? He ate curry and drank a beer.
Booze.
Can we have some balance, please? See, that just took a swerve right at the end there. I thought we were definitely going down we'd taken a right turn at the fork. Being sarcastic. I get it. Norman says, if we're talking horror films, don't you think the Lizbot bears a terrifying resemblance to Chucky? Chucky. Well, now you mention it. Yeah, I do, yeah, a little bit. Paul says, people who trash the pound, raise mortgage rates for millions and take us out of the largest trading bloc in the world should be known as the Anti-Growth Coalition as well. That's right. Oh, good news about Lamb, except it's not good news. She's going to pretend that it is, but it isn't. I'll get to that in a minute. Lizzie texts, not that one. Lizzie texts, in Liz Truss's closing speech at the party conference, she said that when she opened her first pay packet, she was shocked at how much tax had been taken out. For someone who had studied economics at Oxford and is now in charge of our financial well-being, I am shocked that she was not able to work out how much tax would be required. What on earth did they teach her all those years? Not basic maths, that's for sure. Oh, we used to get an excellent education. It were grand when I were a lad. We used to get an excellent education, a grounding in mathematics. Once learned, never forgotten. 6 8s are 52.
Affirmative.
It's simple, kids. It just requires learning. Martin texts, who is the Brexit Opportunities Minister in the new government? I don't know. Let's ask an expert.
I don't know anything.
He doesn't know anything. There are no Brexit opportunities, so they cancelled the position. But she's going to pretend that there are. Never mind about pork markets, we've got lamb markets now. British lamb is back on Americans' menus. British lamb. Oh, God. Pick it up. A little bit faster. Come on. Only got a 3-hour show. British lamb is back on Americans' menus after a ban on its import dating back to 1989 was lifted, opening up a market worth an estimated 10 pence in the first 5 years of trade to British farmers. No, it's worth an estimated £37 million over 5 years. That's a big deal, no?
No.
Prime Minister Liz Truss. God, that's never going to sound right, is it? Prime Minister Liz Truss. It sounds like you're playing some sort of parlour game. What's the most ridiculous person that you can put in any job? When you write it down on a post-it note and you stick it on your forehead and you have to guess who you are. Prime Minister Liz Truss has hailed it a milestone for UK agriculture. Really? Making its sale, lamb's sale to a market of 300 million people possible. President Joe Biden committed to lifting his country's decades-old ban on imports of the British meat in September of last year in a move that delighted UK sheep farmers. Yeah. It's another Brexit dividend. Except it isn't. Because, and you won't read this in the right-wing Brexit fantasists' papers, the US lifted the ban on all sheep and lamb meat from the EU as well. Not just us. Nothing to do with Brexit. And what country do you think of round these parts when you think lamb? Ireland. Ireland. Irish lamb. Ireland can now export its lamb to the US. But that don't make no never mind, because Americans don't really eat lamb. The average American eats almost 50 kilograms of chicken a year, 26 kilograms of beef, but 0.4 kilograms of lamb, as in almost nothing at all. And what they do eat at the moment is from New Zealand and Australia. 99% of imported lamb and mutton into the States is from New Zealand and Australia. And we know from the uproar from British farmers when the Lisbot trumpeted her huge and tremendous trade deal with Australia and New Zealand that meat from there isn't raised to the same standards as meat from here. So our farmers can be undercut on price. So America already eats almost no lamb from anywhere in the world but Australia and New Zealand, and their meat is cheaper than ours. So what exactly are we celebrating here? We can't compete on price. Americans don't appear to mind about the welfare standards of animals, so it's not going to amount to much. That should be the Tory party slogan under its new management. Not going to amount to much.
Correct.
Or as Liz Truss would say,
we have never had it so good.
Matt says, the reason we're not being encouraged to conserve energy this winter is because someone might take their energy rationing too far and decide it's not worth charging the Truss bot.
That is a disgrace.
Yeah. Plug her in overnight. She'll probably be ready to go first thing in the morning. Christina says, judging by your jovial but sarcastic anti-growth tone, I think Liz has you down for a re-education centre that she's planning on growing in Birmingham. What, that dump? That's not me saying that. I like Birmingham. Birmingham has got plenty to offer, don't you kid yourself. It's got an excellent new library. Well, it's not that new, but it's new. It's new to most people in Birmingham. It's an excellent new library. It's got a cafe on the top, and it's like a terrace to view, and I think there's some books in there. I didn't check. It has a brilliant museum of like new romantic art. The Pre-Raphaelites, marvellous stuff in there. It's got squares and, you name it, it's got it. It's got a big round tower. Terrific place. Donald tweets, Brexit promised a more democratic nation, a more prosperous nation, a better respected nation. Deliverers of Brexit have become a laughingstock. Prosperity is for the select few and democracy is disappearing. Yep, but how's it going apart from that?
Fabulous.
Glenn says, I have a 1980s government nuclear bomb survival guide. All you need to do is remove a door and hide under it. Easy peasy. No, Glenn. You forgot about painting your windows white. Or was that the 1970s? Maybe that was the 1960s. All you had to do was paint your windows white. Hide in a bath. Yeah, you got into a bath. You unscrewed a door and you got into a bath and you put the door over you. This is all in the 5 or 6 seconds that you'll have as the missiles are incoming. But in order to survive all-out thermonuclear war, you simply need to unhinge a door, hide in a bath, pull the door over you in the bath after, of course, having whitewashed your windows. And everything's going to be fine. In your face, Vladimir Putin. Are these phones working? Not one single... I've been on the air 25 minutes, not one single blooming call. I mean, I know I don't give out topics, but really... Diana says, did you hear the comment made by the financial dude from the Telegraph yesterday? When asked for his opinion on the state of the Conservative Party, he said, I think the ringmaster has left the circus tent and the lions are eating the acrobats one at a time. Wow. That's the Tory Telegraph. I am stunned. I've been stunned about 10 or 12 times on this show so far, and I haven't even got to the half-past news yet. The ringmaster has left the circus tent and the lions are eating the acrobats one at a time. Now, in this case, of course, the ringmaster was also the clown show.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Don't forget that. Oh, and his resignation honours list is out.
What?
Yeah. Despite the very obvious fact that he didn't resign. I mean, I'll get to that in a minute as well. So much stuff. I'm up to my eyeballs with stuff. Sandra says, all I'm going to say is, I feel safe knowing Liz Truss would press the button if required, and that takes guts. With Putin's recent comments, I'm glad she would blast and nuke the baddies and we'd be safe, says Sandra. Let me summarise that message for you. Sandra has lost her mind. Nuke the baddies. Maybe she was joking. It's very, very hard to tell these days. You just don't know. Linda says, we're watching the dregs of a Conservative Party who know they're not going to win, but will plunder the country for all it's worth. If you want to be anti-growth, get on board and remain in the EU, says Linda. The two easy ways. I talked about this last night. I'll repeat myself. 2 easy ways in order to increase growth. Way 1, don't put the clocks back, because people will have an extra hour of light in order to be industrious, and they won't have to put the lights on in order to illuminate their work, thereby saving electricity at the same time. A twofer. And option 2, rejoin the single market. I mean, it's so blooming obvious. And the reason that we're not going to, and the reason that we are consigned to deflate like a punctured balloon in this country, is because the people that promised us a heaven on earth, if only we voted to leave the European Union, can't admit to us that they were wrong, that they were lying to us in large parts. Too much loss of face. Plus, it would interfere with their whole, disaster capitalism racket, where they try to make the country do something that they know would be bad for the country, and they bet money accordingly. Now, they portray themselves as patriots, but I have a better word for it, and they should be in prison. Chris says, if we are short of energy, why not turn the light in prison rather than being in the House of Lords? For instance, that other institution. Chris says, if we're short of energy, why not turn the lights on motorways off and lights in offices and scrap the clocks going back? I don't understand why we put the clocks back. We put the clocks back because some cows in the north of Scotland don't like giving milk in the dark. Or something like that. Farmers in the north of Scotland don't like fumbling about underneath a cow in the dark. Well, you can understand their concern. Wouldn't want to get that wrong. Sutex, can the government stop wanting to give us pocket money, as in a few pennies to jingle in their pockets? Also, I don't want a trickle of money. I want the stuff gushing towards me. Some of that made sense, Sue. Better luck next time. On that same subject, Donald tweets, trickle-down economics. I don't want to see trickle-down economics. I want to see cascade-down economics. If that's silly, so is the whole concept. Why not talk about a vital circulation of money? Yeah. And the most obvious thing about giving rich people, a bung, and it doesn't really matter if it's £10,000 or £50,000 or whatever it is, what are they going to do with it? I mean, if you're making £10 million a year, what are you going to do with an extra 10 grand? You're not even going to notice it. You're just going to put it into an envelope. You'll pass it to your accountant. I mean, I know that's not the way they do it. It's all numbers on screens now. But your accountant will poof it out of existence like a magic trick, like it won't exist anymore for tax purposes. It'll be a mist of purple cloud on the dark side of the moon for tax reasons. They're not going to spend it. It'll just sit in their giant pile of money that they've already got, accruing interest. If you give £1,000 to a poor person, they're going to go out and spend it straight away. You know, on comics and cigarettes. Sky Sports, stuff like that. No, they'll spend it on food and clothes and shoes. They'll spend it on the bus, going to the shops to buy the clothes and the shoes and the food. Forgot about the food part. Food. I like food. Oh, blimey, look at the time. Is it that time already?
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Now, wait a minute. I don't like that kind of talk. Now, just stop it. It upsets me.
Tom texts, one day you will wake up and realise for your whole life on the radio you have actually been pushing the elite narrative. A useful idiot, says Tom. Tom's learnt a 3-syllable word. Narrative. What are you talking about? What does that even mean? I have been pushing the elite narrative. I'm keen to find out what is in the recesses of your brain there, Tom. Just text me again and tell me what you mean by the elite narrative, if you actually even know yourself. Morons. We're surrounded by morons. Let's have Brighton. Hello, Kevin. Brighton.
Oh, Kevin.
Hello, Kevin. Yes, Kevin.
Kevin, yeah, that's me, I think, yeah. Oh,
Is it?
What a joy.
Think.
Yes, no, I had to just pull myself together there.
Yes, no.
Yes. No.
Fantastic. No, just a little thing there. I really, it's a little bit off topic, and
What-
it's not.
what-
I know it's
what
not
topic?
well, no, there is no topic. But off the top of the topic.
Yeah, there's no topic, there's no strategy.
There's no strategy. I have no strategy. There's zero strategy.
Zero strategy.
Love it. Right, so I'm a really honest person and everything, divorced, going through the child maintenance service.
Yes.
Really good. I'm not going to affect anybody here. Nothing's going to happen. But I just done, and everything's online. You can't,
I've heard about the
phone
internet.
Anybody.
No end
you can't
of stuff
phone.
on there.
There is no phone
No
number.
phoning,
There is no phone number.
Internet only, yes.
Right, so I've got my own little account, my portal and that, and, me and the ex, we're fine, everything's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I finished my limited company and went into PAYE. So I let them know through my portal and through my change of circumstances, and it's been 2.5 years, mate. You've got to listen, right?
What has been... Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Listen to me, Kevin. No, you listen. What has been 2 years?
They've added my 2 incomes. So my old limited company income, they've added to my new income. And now they're chasing me.
More money
and they're saying I should be paying like 900 quid a week or something ridiculous.
That sounds like
and now I'm in arrears
deal.
and everything. I mean, it's absolutely fine.
Right.
Don't get any dramas.
Okay then. Well, as long as it's absolutely fine. Thanks a lot, Kevin, for that excruciatingly detailed story. But I do wish you all the best with whatever it is that you're talking about, which, as you said, have absolutely nothing to do with what's going on with this show. This is not a complaints forum, but I appreciate it anyway. Alison emails, all the basics should belong to us. Water, food, housing, the NHS, power, roads, environment. Let the Conservatives run the rest. Fair enough. No, Alison, not fair enough. Yes, the water, the food, I don't know what you mean by food, should belong to us. Food. Not sure about that one. Do you want to get food provided for you by the government?
No.
Not really. No. I mean, would you go to a restaurant that was run by the government? Let me think about that for a second.
No.
It's a no from me. So take the food out. Yeah, water, housing, some. NHS, yes. Power, of course. Roads and the environment. I suppose so. Depends what you mean by the environment. Let the Conservatives run the rest. Fair enough, says Alison. No, I think you need to think that out again, Alison. Gaz says, I support what Gordon Brown wants, and it's real reform of the House of Lords to become a House of Nations. It's genius, says Gaz. Each nation gets a vote on their appointees. This has got legs, as they say. Well, that sounds like a good idea. Well, dependent on the population of each nation, they all get to vote for their own lords. And they all get to get stuck up the house. As opposed to the nodding dogs, leeches, robbers and rapists that we got in there at the moment. And some are good people, I suppose. You know, like Mexicans. Ain't that right, Donny?
Oh, shut up!
Sam says, on Question Time last night, not last night now, a couple of nights ago, Nadim Rambling Zahawi said that we should all get behind the Lizbot because Putin wants us to be divided, so we're just playing into his hands. Oh. And I think that was the response that comment elicited, a guffawing from the audience. This is that guy.
So obviously, but I know certainly, but you know, but obviously,
he just fills the air with noise and numbers, signifying nothing. Painful. 0345 6060 973. Let's have Canterbury. Hello, Phil.
Sorry, Nick, I can't hear you. Can you speak up?
I'll press 1 if you can hear me.
Oh, yes, I think I can hear you. On a serious note, though,
yes.
After those list of MPs that you gave, which are just as long as your arm,
amazing.
You forgot to start at the top. That's
at the very beginning. Don't mention any names.
Our gracious King ...
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wait a minute.
Who's already tried to subvert a law in Scotland to get rid of rent caps because he was worried that his estate wouldn't raise enough money, since I can't say the names.
Oh, you're talking about the royal family who have veto over any laws that they don't like the look of, that might affect their income. Yes.
Well, you may possibly say that, but I couldn't possibly comment.
That's true. And it's and that is a power that they use whenever they feel like it. They've exempted themselves from green laws that would apply to anybody else. They've exempted themselves from, I think, from paying, I'm not sure about this one, but paying the minimum wage that applies to anybody else. And basically anything that would affect the bottom line. If it's all about the money, honey, then if a law would impinge on their ability to make a profit, then they just strike it out.
Yep, the last one, I think, affected about 1,000 laws, apparently.
Well, if you say so. I would
in
have
the
to
long time that they were there.
I would have to have done homework to confirm that, and you know me.
I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want that.
Well, I wouldn't want that, so...
Who does?
All right. Thanks a lot, Phil. 0345 6060 973. The British establishment, rotten from the top down. Gaz says, no, done that. Done those 3. Wow. Really am motoring through them. Only 11 pages to go. And they are, of course, being added to in each and every second I'm on the air. How do these people get my number? That's what I don't understand. East Yorkshire. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Nick. How are you doing?
Great, mate.
Great. You got a text about elitism and things.
Oh, yeah.
I think the guy's got a bit mixed up because you are an elite presenter, not a pro-elitist presenter.
Okay.
So anyway, great show as normal. Yeah, I was ringing up about the sheep deal that Truss has managed with America.
Oh, yeah, the lamb. Poor little lambs, bouncy, 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 and then they get shot in the head. Oh, yeah, that was the wrong one. It should have been that one. Never mind.
Do you know why they got banned in the first place?
Yeah, it was Scrapey, wasn't it?
No, it was Chernobyl. We had glow-in-the-dark Welsh sheep. But the funny thing about
I'm not
this
sure
is
that's right, because I thought it was the mad cow disease that was allied to, I didn't even know what scrapie is. Please don't tell me if you know. I am not interested in some sheep disease. But it was something the Americans were concerned about, and now they are concerned no longer.
But if you think, go back to the nuclear bit, if you think that it's likely that Putin is going to put a missile into the Ukraine nuclear one thing, and then blame the Ukrainians for doing it, which means he creates the nuclear thing, then sheep are going to be off the menu for years and years to come again.
Well, I think food will be off the menu. I think living will be off the menu.
Yeah, I can. He's talking about nuclear, but I think the best way he can do it is to have a deliberate accident and then blame everybody else for it, and then he'll deny that for all evers, and what can anybody do?
Mike, are you actually giving that psychopath ideas?
I think he's thought of that long before me, but I loved it when his bridge got blown up. I thought that was really good.
It was a very impressive special effect. I do hope that nobody was hurt in the making of that effect.
3 were killed who were in a car next to the lorry.
Well, like I say, not a happy story. They also didn't blow the whole bridge up because there was a railway bridge and two road bridges side by side, weren't there?
That's right, yeah.
That's why you could see the explosion coming up and over the bridge, because the camera was mounted looking at the higher of the two bridges.
Well, they timed it well, because there were 3 oil tanks on the railway going past when they blew the lorry, and that's right. What all the flaming. But bit of an embarrassment for him, but there we go.
Yeah, well, it's okay because he's out of his mind, so, no damage done.
No. All
right, thanks a lot, Mike. 0345 6060 973. Shane texts, Liz is clever. She knows the cheapest way to fix social care is for the elderly to all die of cold this winter. Patrick says, never lose hope, Nick. However quirky, be assured that all wonky devices can be restored to factory settings, including Lizbot 1.0. Just wipe her brain clean and start again. Turn her off and on again would be my first suggestion. That usually works. Maybe we could try it with this country. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. LBC with Nick Abbott.
What number are you calling from?
0345 6060 973. Sanj says, can we just spare a few minutes to give our thoughts to Brexiteer Tim Martin of Wetherspoons, who is having to sell 32 of his branches due to a lack of staff and prices going through the roof, and is blaming the EU and is on course to be down £30 million this year? Well, he got what he voted for, poor chap, says Sanj. Only some of that's true, Sanj. I'm not sure he is blaming the EU, although you might be right about that, but I think you might be wrong. Thoughts and prayers. Anyway. Julie says, it feels well like we have an organised crime gang running this country. Well, I keep saying it. It's not a government. It's a smash and grab raid. She says there can't be a single law left on the statute book that a Tory minister hasn't broken. Party of law and order. The latest trade minister obviously didn't get the memo. It's a disgrace, says Julie. She's very angry about it. And Kev says, my clocks won't be going back because I forget where they came from. Listeners with material.
Oh, no.
Let's have Carnforth. Hey up, Annie.
Hey up, Nick. How you doing?
I am great, mate.
Good. There's still parts of Cumbria that farmers can't put their sheep on the odd part where it's still glowing in the dark.
Is it?
Yes.
Blimey.
Yeah. So, God, I can't remember. Was that 1984 or something?
No, I don't know. I don't know history at all. You asked me about anything that happened beyond 3 minutes ago, and I've got absolutely no idea.
I do vaguely remember it because we were on holiday up there a week afterwards. Actually, my partner went walking in the rain.
Big mistake.
Yes, he's still alive.
Well, he managed to find his way home by the light from the glow of his face.
Yes. Yeah, but actually, that was partly what I rang up about, because, you were saying about, we'd all have to get in the bath and stick the door over us and paint our windows white and everything. But, if Vlad the Insane went off his trolley completely and lobbed one over here, but I don't think it's necessarily will happen that way. It might just be that, because there's that biggest nuclear power station in Europe.
Zaporizhia.
That's it, yes. Did you hear in the news today that they've just messed up the last cable? They've just shelled the last cable that was taking the electricity in there to
now they've only got generators.
Yes.
Great.
That doesn't seem so good, does it?
No.
Makes Chernobyl look like it might be child's play.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'd better definitely all get ready and be diving under whatever you can dive.
You'll be able to go outside as long as you don't breathe in. You can breathe out. Just make sure you don't breathe in.
Yes, you better get stocking up now. Make sure you've got lots of food, and just then, we have actually upstairs because we always buy in bulk anyway.
Well, what have you got most of?
Oh, we've got loads of rice and lentils and beans and nuts. And
God, that sounds awful. What are you going to make? What are you going to make with that? Lentils and beans.
All sorts.
That's hippie food.
Lentil curry, delicious.
Oh no,
Yummy.
Not for me. No lentils for me. It's like eating dirt. I just can't abide
Rubbish.
lentils.
I'll send you my lentil curry recipe.
Don't threaten me.
Oh, well, Liz Trussellini excelled herself, didn't she, this week in her
God, what's
speech?
she done now? Oh, the speech.
Well, just that awful speech and the whole thing when those two women were there and they were all baying at them, ugh.
Yeah. Have you ever seen anybody more uncomfortable in your life than the Trustbot when she started up her speech? Because they've got these two screens either side of them so that it looks as though they're looking at the audience by moving their head. They don't just have the screen scrolling up in front of them, because then it would just look like they're reading it. So they have it on either side so that they can look to left and right. The idea is you're supposed to be sufficiently skilled to make it look as though you're just scanning the audience, but you're reading it.
Yeah.
But she manages by her robotic mean to make it absolutely plainly obvious that she's reading it off two screens. I mean, she is just so bad at presentation. Now, if she was good at everything else, then it might make up for it. But I can't think of a single thing she's actually good at.
No, she's dreadful. Actually, I didn't see it because we haven't got a TV, but I heard it on the radio. And when all that hoo-ha started going on when the Greenpeace women were there, and they all started shouting, out, out, out.
Yeah.
I didn't know what was going on because obviously it's only on the radio. And I was thinking, what's going on? Have they, all taken leave of their senses, or just, decided they just couldn't stand it and were shouting out, out, out at her,
Yes.
until we were actually informed of what had happened.
Yeah.
And then I said, that's what they're
They
up to.
unfurled a little poster that said, no, we didn't vote for this, or nobody voted for this, or where's your mandate, or something like that.
Yeah.
And she said, mandate, my husband's just over there. Boom, boom.
Yes. But we're not allowed to protest anymore anyway.
That's right. No protesting.
Not in the Liz Trussellini dictatorship anymore.
That's the way that we have a country where free speech is valued, when they are free to say you don't have any free speech.
Yes, yeah, exactly. No, it's terrible. I mean, that was Bodger, wasn't it, anyway, bringing in that Police and Crime Act, or bill, or whatever it was.
So what kind of wine would go with a lentil curry, then? So it'd have to be something really strong to take that horrible taste of lentils out of your mouth.
Well, I don't drink anymore, so I don't know. Can't really recommend.
Right.
But, no, alcohol does not agree with me at all.
Well, okay then.
And my partner can't because he's on meds that you definitely can't drink with, so...
Right.
Yeah, we're alcohol-free here.
Alcohol-free zone.
Booze.
Yes.
Right. All right, good to know. You're the designated driver. Thanks a lot, Annie. Cheers, my dear. 0345 6060 973. Paul texts, I like it when the clocks go back. It means I can sleep for an extra hour. If I had my way, the clocks would go back an hour every day. Oh, I can't pick a hole in that. That would actually work. Of course. Another Paul, presumably, texts, unless it's a very, very busy Paul, who's just got just blurting it out. He's got like textual diarrhea. He says, why do people keep acting as if this is a new government? It's just an overblown reshuffle. They've torn up the manifesto and are on an unofficial election campaign. The question is, when will they call it because they don't have a mandate? Also, did Carol sort her washing out in the end? I think she did.
Yeah.
And we're talking again about the podcast that I do with Carol McGiffin. It was a funny one this week. If you haven't heard them before, there's over 100 episodes up there on the internet. It's on Global Player. It's called What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol? We try to solve people's problems, but mostly we're just, like laughing. Laughing and laughing and laughing. And we're going to tape tomorrow, so if you want to put your question in, then get it in straight away, if not sooner. We tape at noon tomorrow. And the email address again is nickandcarol@global.com. Nick and Carol, that's in words rather than ampersand. Nick and Carol, NICKANDCAROL, @global.com. And the podcast is called What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol? Let's see if I can squeeze in one before the news. It's, I've been waiting the longest. Tavistock. Hello, Rose.
Oh, God,
Rose.
well, I won't get it in, what I wanted to say, my love.
Excuse me?
Oh, God, sorry.
I'll put you on hold. I'll take you after the news. How does that sound?
Oh, well, it's very nice of you, would you?
It's a dream come true, Rose. Let's have Narberth. Hello, Neil.
Hi, Nick. How you doing?
Good, thanks.
Good. I just heard your appeal for some information about Scrapie.
Oh, yeah.
You wanted to know all about Scrapie,
No, I don't. I absolutely do not want to know anything about it at all, other than it affects some sheep. I don't want to know where it affects them. I don't want to know what it looks like or feels like or smells like. I don't want anything about it. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, our pet sheep are completely free of Scrapie, fortunately, but and they're not very impressed about the news about the exporting of lamb.
When you break the news to them, I mean, they'll be, of course, delighted at the birth of their lamb kids. Kids are goats, aren't they? They're children. They're little lamb children. Bouncy, bouncy, bouncy. They're so happy. What a great day. And then they get, slaughtered and end up as somebody's dinner. Poor things.
Indeed.
You have sheep as pets?
Yeah, we've got about 27 of them.
What?
Well, we started out with we adopted them about 6 or something like that. They had babies, and so they're still here with their mums, and then we've got the dad here is still here. The ram is still here. He's not a ram anymore. He's had his operation, should we say?
Poor
thing. Got 27 pet sheep of varying ages from about 5 years to about 15.
And when you say pets, I mean, you don't actually mean pet. Are they not going to get executed for somebody's dinner eventually?
No. They're here for life. And they come in the house for food and things like that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
they like lentils.
The smell of it.
They love lentils as well.
Right. Well, then that's an excellent use for a lentil. Give it to a sheep. Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot, Neil. Way too much information about home life over in Narberth in South Wales. I've never heard anything like it in my life. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global. Leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Hi, honey. How are you?
I'm super. Thanks for asking. Lower taxes do not lead to higher growth. It's never worked anywhere it's ever been tried. Not here, not anywhere, not now, not ever. But apart from that, she's completely correct in every respect. What's comical, I mean, it would be funny if it wasn't happening to us, was that Liz Truss, of course, she hasn't just dreamt this stuff up. She's got people from supposed think tanks and billionaires from all over the world have been pouring money into this and trying to take over the planet. Essentially, they tried it with the orange nightmare in the U.S. and they tried it with Boris Johnson. Spent a lot of money getting him into power. And they're trying it with her as well. And they've just got this plan, this sort of plan to commercialise the entire planet. And only things that make money are good. And only those that got a lot of money get to be citizens. And everybody else just gets to be, well, essentially like sheep. And they've been dreaming about this for ages, yearning for the day when they could actually put these plans, this little scheme into action. Never, I would expect, believing that such a time would actually come, that they would be allowed to, just play with the toys of state. And then the Trust bot gets in by dint of being voted for by about 100,000 boors who prop up the bar at the golf club. No one that you know or no one that I know. Who are all these people? A bunch of retired old duffers from Budley Salterton. And she finally gets to enact this grand plan that they've had all this time. And it falls apart in about an hour. It's comical. Like I said, if she hadn't actually cost us £300 billion in the 2 weeks in which she's actually been in charge, £300 billion. Not million, billion. So, what could possibly go wrong apart from everything? And like I said, it would be funny if it wasn't happening to us. Never mind, eh? Tavistock, Rose.
Oh, gosh, hello, Nick. I'm humbled. I'd better make it worth it, hadn't I?
I suppose so.
First of all, it was lovely, that man with the sheep. I loved that.
Well, that just seems a bit bizarre. I mean, first of all, keeping a sheep as a pet. Second,
no, not at
yes,
all.
absolutely. Second, letting it in the house, which seems, I don't know, medieval.
Well,
and third,
no.
allowing the sheep to breed such that you used to have one and now you got like 28.
They might be rare breeds, of course. But no, it reminds me of a farm I lived on years ago, and Christine, who looked after the sheep, her kitchen was a big kitchen, apparently, so nearby, sort of partly my landlady. And the floor was like stone.
Yeah.
And she had got some sheep and lambs kept in the kitchen for the weather and also because they weren't thriving, or sometimes you need to, hand feed the lambs. And she kept being waken up in the night with her little hooves running over the stone floor.
Well,
I always remember that.
In the kitchen.
But they were a farm, unless they would be sold for slaughter. Sorry,
Yeah.
Go on, yeah.
In the kitchen. That doesn't sound very sanitary.
Well,
No.
you have dogs and cats running about kitchens.
Well, not my kitchen.
No. Well, yes, we're all a bit different, aren't we? Anyway, I was, Liz Truss.
I don't even like me running around my kitchen. I have to wipe up after myself. Never mind about a sheep. Anyway.
Well, I can imagine that because I shouldn't say this because you won't agree. The date you were born.
The date
you were
I was
Virgo.
born. No.
Yeah, you're a Virgo.
No. Not Virgo.
Isn't it?
No. Leo. I mean, I am on the cusp. But 22nd of August is Leo, as far as I am aware. I would hate to be.
24th of August
20,
is Virgo.
22nd, I am.
Oh, I see. So my father and my boyfriend,
Yeah.
who are both on the 24th of August, they're right at the beginning of Virgo, are they?
Are you saying
that would explain a lot.
Are you saying the 24th or the 21st?
24th.
4th, right, yeah. I think Virgo starts just after me.
Ah,
Yes.
right. Yes, well, I can see it was either, actually. But sorry, I'm being awfully rude tonight. I don't know what's got into me.
What has got into you?
Booze.
Yeah. No, definitely not. No.
Okay,
36
then.
years now.
Blimey.
Well, I'm going to... I was listening to Annie, and I heard some of that speech, and it's this whole strong leader thing, isn't it? I mean, I hope you're right that they have finished themselves off, but I thought of the Nazis. This is so corny, isn't it? But and no, I was going to say this right at the end, so perhaps I won't say it at all, really.
Oh.
No, maybe not.
Well, you've started, so you'll finish.
Well, it's just about quashing your finer feelings, quashing the urge towards compassion, which I remember reading a letter from one of them to another saying he was proud that he'd managed to quash this sympathy before he did the things that were, quote, necessary, you know.
Are we talking about the Nazis or the Tories? Who quashed
the Nazis.
Okay.
Precisely, yeah. And, you know, this whole thing about we're meant to see the withholding of compassion as a virtue. This is trust. What is trust? Boosting this by I'm fine about being unpopular and even smaller things like renewing the foie gras imports. You know, we've got no time to be worrying about tortured geese sort of business.
Yes.
And it's all meant to... The anti-woke thing, it's all meant to justify their complete and utter indifference to any suffering.
Well, I think that the anti-woke...
trickle down to everybody else.
Yeah, I think that the anti-woke thing is because they believe that their fans love it. I have bad news for them on that score. The majority of the people in this country are woke. I hate to break the news to them, but we're not an anti-woke people. And I don't think that there's enough people who are angry enough to just and sort of flailing around, itching to get a target, who are just going to fall on every new woke thing that comes along, because that's what they're going to base their... I keep saying this, and I betcha it's true. That is what the Tories are going to base their next election campaign on, this war on wokery, because they don't have anything else.
No, exactly. But what they do have, Nick, is this... People who I constantly come across people who think that they have to be not very well off and lived in difficult times for the country to survive, and that that's all fine, and they take it out on people who don't want to be poor. You know, there's something, you know, this whole virtue of necessity thing. It's noble to put up with it. You see, you get all that. So.
Well, that's just a British trait, isn't it? We complain for 3 hours straight and then say, oh, well, mustn't grumble. And then we just
exactly.
Put up with whatever it is that is irking us. Yeah.
Yeah, but they just seem to put up with anything from these people and think, well, she's a strong leader. You know, I'm fine with being unpopular, blah, blah, blah. And if you've got somebody like Corbyn in, he'd be far too soft, so the country would go to pieces. Whereas, in fact, he'd just run it like a decent place.
Like a normal country.
Yeah, like people genuinely believe that we can't afford to do that. And yet it's glaring in the face that, you know, there's massive wealth. But oh no, we've all got to suffer, and you can't possibly have somebody nice in charge, somebody decent. You've got to have a strong leader who's an absolute
Well, apart from
bastard,
anything else,
you know.
she is not a strong leader. She U-turns so fast, she screws herself into the ground. She did it just today. On did you see the thing about the free rail tickets to the Remembrance Service for Army for Forces veterans? At first she said, No, you cannot have a free ride to the Remembrance Service, you freeloaders, or words to that effect. And then, after thinking about it for 10 seconds, she said, okay then. I have been very clear about my robust stance, you know, and so on and so forth. But this woke thing is kind of interesting because I think that the Tory party and their client media, you know, people who write the happy, clappy articles about them, they all are in belief. They all believe that wokery, this war on woke, is going to get them over the line at the next general election. But unfortunately, the people have been overrepresented by the by people going on about wokery. It's just, as usual, it's a minority who get heard because they shout the loudest. But the majority of us are on board with this whole being nice thing, if you can believe that. You remember being nice, don't you, Rose?
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like a dim, distant memory. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Cheers, my dear. Thanks a lot. 0345 6060 973. So this is an article from a couple of weeks ago. According to the latest annual poll of British social attitudes, a majority of the British public agree with so-called woke positions on issues such as, but not including but not limited to, racial equality, immigration and sexual identity. And the Daily Mail said, what? In the latest sign that liberal views are increasingly mainstream, the survey showed the balance of public opinion in Britain has shifted in favour of more inclusive, as in woke, attitudes over the past 20 years. This is going to come as something of a shock to the people that are pushing this woke war nonsense at us, because I'm sure they believe they are onto a winner here. There's also a desperation in their clinging to this, their adherence to this woke war nonsense, because, as I said, they ain't got nothing else. Fiscal responsibility? Yeah, right. The NHS safe in their hands? No. In the latest sign that liberal views are increasingly mainstream, survey shows the balance of public opinion in Britain has shifted in favour of these more woke views over the past 20 years. A rapid and significant shift in attitudes in Britain over recent decades, so says the political scientist Sir John Curtis, a senior fellow at the National Centre for Social Research, which carried out the survey. The survey's other key findings indicate public support for increased taxation and public spending, including on social security benefits. Support for redistributing income from the rich to the less well-off was at its highest level in nearly 30 years. And the Tories saw that and thought, oh, screwed it up. Never mind. They thought, oh, no. It's all about the timing. The pro-tax and spending ideas were shared across the political divide. 61% of Labour voters, 46% of Tory voters were in agreement. Overall, 52% said the government should raise taxes and invest more in health, education and social benefits. Which makes you wonder what the other 48% are spoking. I mean, how can you not want more money on health, education and social benefits? The exact opposite, in fact, of where this government is dragging us. They're dragging us to a low-wage economy, fewer benefits of work like holidays and sick pay, and basically making us the sweatshop of Europe. That appears to be where we're going. Singapore-on-Thames. So just remember that when they say they want a high-wage economy, you have to contrast it with what they actually do when someone asks for a high wage. They label them a militant lefty troublemaker and want to lock them all up. And so the Tories' trick is to distract us from all that with this culture wars nonsense. And it looks like we are not on their side, that they do not speak for the majority. It just seems that they do because the cult fans shout the loudest. More than half of those who expressed a preference, 54%, agreed that it was not important to be born in Britain to be truly British. In 2013, it was 25%. Now it's 54% who think that. They said, I passed the break, so I'll get into more of this, but I've got, just pages and pages of excruciatingly boring details. But the overall message is that if the war on woke is what they're going to fight the next election on, then they are going down.
Nick Abbot on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Everything is going extremely well.
Yeah, could have driven a bus through that gap. Never mind. Nobody will have noticed. 0345 6060 973. Larry the Cat texts, I now have more followers on Twitter than Liz Truss. I think that says it all, really. And Andy tweets, my granddad was a farmer. We brought the orphaned lambs into the kitchen to keep them warm by the Aga and to bottle feed them. Well, that's just a good idea. Keep them close to the stove. 0345 6060 973. Erith, Steve.
Hello, Nick.
Steve.
Hope you will. It's what you said last week about the Conservatives and the plan of it is a plan, and whether they win or lose, they've already won. But I wanted to give you some positive news about music, because there is no, the words and the meanings have all gone. But I had a bloke called Buddy Guy, and I've heard of him, but never heard him. And it's like bluesy. Do you know him?
It's like bluesy. It is the blues. Buddy Guy is the blues.
Well, he's just released a record.
Has he?
And they've been playing it on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
So I wondered if it was your kind of thing, maybe that'd cheer you up a bit.
I tell you what, Steve, we'll get it on right now. We'll put it on immediately, if not sooner. Unfortunately, we haven't got that album, not to hand. Can I interest you in some Steelers Wheel? Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. I have no idea what that call was about. Philip texts, Nicola Sturgeon wants lighter mornings and Scottish independence, whilst at the same time getting Scotland shackled by the EU once again. Shackled. Shackled. Shackled to all of that easy money. I know. Sounds like a nightmare. There's more. Oh, and last but not least, she wants to break up the UK, leaving everyone poorer. And if that ain't bad enough, she also wants to leave us all defenceless and at Putin's mercy by scrapping Trident. She's as mad as a hatter, says Philip, who, as considering madness, knows what he's talking about. Leaving everyone poorer. Philip, leaving the European Union has left everyone poorer. Rejoining again would cause the opposite of that. Shackled. Honestly, you just can't. I just can't be bothered. Bridgend, hello, Mike.
Oh, hello there. Hello, Nick. How's it going,
there. Mike? Fine, thanks.
Oh, yeah, I'm just calling in to wonder if you've because when the Bank of England had to step in to help out pension funds in the UK because of Liz Truss basically drove the interest rate up really sharply.
Yeah,
I was wondering why they had to do that, and so I did a bit of Googling, like you do, and have you come across the phrase before, liability-driven investment?
I have. Do I understand it? Not really.
No, me either. But the pension funds basically are invested heavily in such things.
Yes.
And because of that, it's another one of these kind of packaged products where you invest in futures and derivatives.
Yeah.
And it's all very risky, and so you balance that risk out by having investing a lot in gilt.
What it is precisely the sort of thing that caused the 2007 financial crash, when all of the managers in the top floors of the banking buildings said, well, we didn't know what it was. We have no idea what those things are. I mean, that was the little people on the floors below us. I mean, those people are crazy. I've got no idea what I can't even remember what they're called. Exchange securities or... I've got no idea. Anyway, I saw a film about it once. It was pretty good, actually.
It's basically like every other crisis is caused by when you have something you think is worth like a lot of money, like a lot of that American debt was, which a lot of British companies bought bundles of debt, thinking they had something, and in reality they had nothing. And that's what liability-driven investment's like. It's basically it's another way of, it's like multiplying your assets, make it look like you've got an awful lot on the books.
Right.
When in reality you don't really know exactly precisely what you're actually putting your money into. It's all involved in derivatives and
it's like walking into a casino and just throwing your money in the air and hoping that some of it lands on a roulette table and crossing your fingers.
And it's like you said, it's exactly the same mechanism, or it's when the 2008 thing crash happened, you think, well, people are going to learn a lesson. And then all they've done really is gone, what other kind of vehicle can we bundle up?
I tell you, people say that they did not learn their lesson, Mike, but they did learn their lesson. Their lesson was that if they win, they get to keep the winnings. If they lose, we bail them out. That's what they learned.
It's just like the Wall Street crash originally, when basically people invested in shares, and then it turned out the shares were largely in companies which weren't actually doing anything. It's just the same old thing, and it's always the people who are, instead of being honest and saying we're going to invest honestly in a pension fund and you might not get the returns in your pension you expected, the pension managers go, how can we maximise the pension returns? And the only way you can do that is by investing in things like derivatives, which even when you ask somebody who knows about them to explain them, like the most complicated types of derivatives, they have trouble explaining them themselves.
I know. I was reading the Financial Times and Bloomberg, trying to get some sort of financial expertise on this issue. And they actually said that. The people that were writing said, this is very complicated and I don't quite understand it myself. But here's like a sketchy outline of what it is. And the people that are spending all of that money, who are running these funds, they've got no idea what it is either. They're idiots, and they're only doing it.
On the radio.
They're only doing it in order to not to maximise the value of the fund, but specifically to maximise their bonuses for the year.
Yeah. I was listening to people trying to explain it on the radio. Different experts were coming on, and I'm a sucker for the details, so I was like, I know this is very complicated. So I was like, I listened to each expert saying, when somebody on LBC said what's exactly happened there.
Right.
And they'd start off real good and say, well, what's happened is, and then when it came to the nitty-gritty, they'd kind of just gloss over it and go, well, that's all terrible.
Yeah.
It's basically, all cons are, typically most cons are where you make something so complicated nobody questions it because they think it's stupid by questioning it.
Yes. You tell someone, this is how I understand the last financial crash. People were selling, it was like, I'm selling you a boat. Mike, here is a boat. This is a fantastic boat. You're going to love this boat. Meanwhile, I have drilled a hole in its hull, and I am taking a bet that the boat that I am selling you will sink.
Essentially, it's gambles based on gambles based on gambles, contingent liabilities based on other liabilities. And when you actually if you ask an expert to explain it, and they have to they have to draw like 30 diagrams on a board, and it's just like, what's that oil scandal, the N1 oil scandal? I mean, that was an amazingly complex web they drafted there, and you could never come up with that in your wildest dreams unless you were one of these scumbags who basically likes to just, create false companies to make the company look.
Yes,
they created companies
that is the
there,
correct terminology, by the way. Scumbags. Yes, that's precisely what we're talking about. Yeah,
that's the biggest scandal. The biggest crisis that came from Liz Truss's recent thing. I think the biggest light it shone is the fact that. I read an article that said now they're questioning the Bank of England is questioning these liability-driven investments. It's like a bit late, really.
A little bit, yeah.
Bit late. Like
the financial regulator doesn't appear to be worth the money that we're paying them because they don't appear to regulate the finance racket at all. In fact, they appear to be right up to their eyeballs in it.
They can't keep up with the complexities of things. If people who are making the money realize that by generating complexity and making it more difficult for the regulators to understand is the way to avoid the regulators. That's all they do, and the regulators just look at it and go, well, it's working at the moment, so that's fine.
Well, the thing that was working, well, a little bit, I guess, to sort of damp down the frenzy of hooky deals and trades, was to reduce the amount of money that the banking racketeers could make on their bets, by which I mean reducing the amount that their bonuses could go up by. That's what the European Union brought in order to protect us from the 2007 financial crash ever happening again. But at least we don't have a prime minister who's crazy enough to take that banking bonus cap away.
Well, nobody actually suffered hardly nobody, despite all the massive people knew what was going on there. And like if you're a director of a company, you continue to trade and you know your company's bankrupt, you're liable for criminal sanction and face. Well, everybody trading before 2008, a large part of them knew that they were trading in things which were worthless.
Yeah.
And they're just passing liability on. But nobody, as far as I'm aware, not many people got prosecuted. So
but it's worse than that, though. They knew it was worthless, but they were telling people that it was a AAA rated product, that it was a great thing and you can't lose money on this, when they knew that it was rubbish. Those people should be in jail, and none of them are at all.
No.
Mike, it's been an education. I know as little at the end of this conversation as I did at the beginning. My mind just clouds over when people start talking numbers at me.
And 1, 2, 11.
11. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nica@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Oh, hello.
0345 6060 973. Ian emails, do we know who chose Moving On Up by M People, played as the Trustbot walked on stage at the recent Tory conference? Because of the lyrics. I had not really paid attention to lyrics. I don't really pay attention to lyrics at all. I learn them by osmosis, like songs that I know well. I can sing along without actually, paying any attention to what it is that I'm singing. Like everything by David Bowie, for instance. Doesn't really mean anything in and of itself, but unless you're David Bowie, and then it probably makes a lot of sense. Some lyrics from Moving On Up by M People, which was the music that accompanied Liz Truss as she walked on stage. You've done me wrong, your time is up. That's the first line. You've done me wrong, your time is up. You broke my heart, there's no way back. Move right out of here, baby. Go on, pack your bags. Wow. Just who do you think you are? Stop acting like some kind of star. I think someone's having a laugh at your expense there, Lizbot. Stop acting like some kind of star. Just who do you think you are the lyrics that start that song.
That is a disgrace.
Well spotted there, Ian. Let's have Harrow. Jonathan.
Can you hear me, Nick?
No.
Okay. When you start the show this evening, one of your texters said that Jonathan from Harrow speaks my brains. Did you read that?
I read that, yeah.
And also, another quick thing I want to say is that a few weeks ago, a caller called up LBC and said to one of your great presenters, he quoted you, this caller, said, as Nick Abbott would say, the walkie-talkie, and that's not you, it's me.
Oh, that's you, is it?
Walkie-talkie.
The walkie-talkie.
It was to David Lammy. He said, as Nick Abbott would say, the walkie-talkie. But
right.
I'll tell you a few things. Chatting with the...
You're claiming that one as your own, are you?
I mean, listen, when I was chatting with the boy who picks up the phone, I said to him this.
Boy. Go on.
Because I voted 2 times. I voted Conservative Party.
Mm-hmm. You voted twice. You're only supposed to vote once.
No, in 2017, because I believe propaganda about Jeremy Corbyn, you say.
Mm.
And then I vote Brexit also. And now I do not have Zab, okay? And my washing machine break down, but I can't afford new ones. So this evening, even as Conservative Party voter myself, and this is called poetic justice. You are reading out all of the criminals and gangsters in that party, and I am literally having to wash my underpants in a bucket.
Oh, way too much information there, Jonathan.
Because I can't buy the washing machine. So I went to a pound shop, and nobody's wearing the mask because they're all sick. And because I'm an intelligent person.
Yeah, you went to the pound shop to see if you could buy a washing machine. They cost way more than that. Oh, a bucket. A bucket. Right.
And I have to wash the underpants in it because I cannot get a job now. I was in a shop a few weeks ago, and the security said to me, "Could you keep it down?" Because I was telling one of the customers that because we were chatting, I don't just go up to stranger and talk to them.
You were telling them about your underwear. Go on.
No, I was telling them that this country is political, militant feminist. It's like the feminist Taliban in this country.
Is it? And what makes you say that? He asked, fearful that you might explain it. Go on.
I do not have a sexist bone in my body.
But
no,
yeah.
This country is like 1984 now. You Facebook this, you tweet this. The police come in the Daily Mail. They say, and also on the Twitter, people come after you because it's a racist.
Well, keep your dirty underwear to yourself, Jonathan. And I wish you all the best. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Fits right in on this show. Darryl says, imagine if someone had invested lots of money in shorting the pound, they would be so deliriously happy they would probably burst out laughing. Like even if they were a funeral or something. Yeah. Good point. Chingford. Hello, John.
Oh, hi, Nick. Yeah, you mentioned about the Tories have got this anti-woke agenda.
Yeah.
They've got a couple of other things. Obviously, dinghies. That was very big at the.
That's what they're going to go with: dinghy spotting and the anti-woke thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but the other thing is they want to cancel culture.
They want to cancel culture.
Cancel, yeah. Like, I don't know, when we bring something up of our past that we should be ashamed of, they that's running the country down. You can't do that.
They call it rewriting history, but it's the opposite of that. It's telling history. Telling the truth is now apparently unpatriotic.
Yeah. I mean, I know I'm not allowed to name them, but there's two sort of newish TV channels that are, totally anti-woke.
They pretend to be. They rail on the air about about trans issues, and then you find that they have unisex toilets. So don't believe everything you see on the air.
Yeah, but I noticed Nadine. No, sorry, I can't remember. Elphick, the MP for Dover, who's always going. She's like the head.
Natalie Elphick.
Spotter.
Yeah, mm-hmm.
Sorry? Yeah, that's right. She says now with this new regime, they've got all the tools in the toolkit now to combat dingies.
Yeah.
Actually, speaking of tools, did you know that Lord Smog has said he'd be quite happy for them to frack in his back garden?
Yeah, sure. I believe that when I see it.
Well, I understand he's got quite a large one.
Right.
A back garden, sorry. I should imagine it's, you probably wouldn't see the fracking down of his back window.
Yeah, not with binoculars, no. I still don't believe it. All right, okay, thanks a lot, John. Cheers, mate. 0345 6060 973. Sean texts, I just watched half of the first episode of This England. Is that the thing with like Boris Johnson during the mad bat disease? Why would anybody want to watch that? It was bad enough living through it. Why do I want to watch a TV program of it? I just don't get it. What's the attraction? Why would they make it, first of all? Anyway, he says, I just watched half of the first episode of This England. I had to turn it off as it was giving me anxiety. But within 10 minutes, the memory was back. Cummings, the whole joke they made of our country, and now I read that they're getting peerages. What the bleep, says Sean. Yeah, they're all getting peerages now. They're all giving themselves presents. Bodger Johnson has nominated up to 8 Conservative MPs for peerages in his resignation honours list.
What?
He didn't resign. He was fired for being a terrible person and a worse Prime Minister. And in this muddled up, shook up, mixed up world, you actually get a prize for that.
Oh, fabulous.
But of course, if any of these characters actually does get stuck up the House of Lords, there's going to be an election in their seats. Because you can't be an MP and a Lord at the same time. And on current polling, each and every one of them would get wiped out. It'll be a Tory wipeout. Bodger is understood to have rewarded key loyalists, bootlickers, enablers, fawners, and those that gazed upon him like he was the love of their lives. Isn't he an absolute dream? So, because Truss seems allergic to letting people have a vote on anything to do with her, she's asked the nominees, apparently, to defer their appointments until after the next election. So Bodger says, here, I have a peerage, my close personal friend or family member. But don't take it yet, take it later so that we can struggle through the next general election and cling on to power. What an absolute shower. Constitutional experts said such a move would be unprecedented and risked dragging the king into politics because he would have to approve the arrangement. I bet the phone to the palace has been ringing off the hook with pleas, encomiums, flattery and threats. And who's on the list? Nadine Dorries. I mean, really. You know, if Keir Starmer does not abolish the House of Lords on day one of his occupancy of number 10, then he should be ousted by his own party on day 2. They should maybe hide his hair gel and threaten to flush it if he doesn't do it.
You don't need to put all of that product in your hair. You just don't.
So to avoid a ruinous set of by-elections, the plan is that those that Bodger nominates would appear in his resignation honours list, despite the fact that he didn't resign, he got fired, but they would remain sitting in the House of Commons until the next general election, and then they could get stuck up the House of Lords. Experts said this would amount to those nominated being a peer and an MP simultaneously. Lord Norton of Louth said it's unprecedented. He's a Tory peer. He said one cannot indicate an intention to accept the peerage at a future date. A peerage is conferred when offered. It is inadvisable, and I would not recommend it, he says. It does create all sorts of problems. You should only nominate someone at the point where they can accept the peerage. There is no known precedent of a sitting MP deferring a peerage in this way. But I bet it's not written down. I bet it's just sort of tacitly agreed. And what Bodger wants, Bodger gets, unless there's a law against it. And even then, Bodge.
I can't comment on that.
0345 6060 973, text 84850, email nick@lbc.co.uk, and if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. I should remind you, this show and the one on Friday gets stuck up the internet as a podcast. Now, there's only one way of listening to it now. It used to be here, there and everywhere, baby, and now the podcast of the whole show is only on Global Player. You can get Global Player for free for Apple and Android. You can also look at it on your PC, on your desktop computer. It's just like like any ordinary web page. But you'll only find the whole show podcast on Global Player. Now, the idea is we take the news and the ads out so it takes less time to listen to. You'll love it. Confusingly, there are 2 versions of it on Global Player. One is the listen again thing, and that's as it went out live, so that'll have the news and the ads in it. Better to go for the podcast version. If you just do an internet search on Nick Abbott, the whole show, podcast, then all will be revealed.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
Shut up.
0345 6060 973. Josie says, did you hear about the couple doing their kitchen extension? They found a bag of gold coins buried, dating from 1621. It was probably worth £200,000. They fetched £750,000 at auction. Lovely, says Josie. Yeah, I found a tenner once outside the tube station at Embankment. Gordon says, I've just eaten 3 Danish pastries. I'm going for growth. I think that'll do it. Brussels. Emma.
Hello?
Yes, Emma.
Hello? Yeah. So I just wanted to put a positive spin on things. We've spoken before, but I was just saying to your researcher how it was a lovely article on BBC News, local London news on Friday, where there was these young people celebrating Black History Month. And it was just this beautiful thing where they all decided to play different music from Black history. And I suppose it was just this moment of thinking that young people, oh, blimey, they're just so ahead of us and able to see past all the prejudice. And it was quite inspiring and made me feel that maybe we have some hope for the future.
Young people.
It was just a beautiful moment.
I don't think that young has got anything to do with it. You know, the thing about old people is they used to be young people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, it doesn't sound like you're particularly old yourself. You're talking whisperly about the youngsters these days. Sounds like you're about 19 yourself.
No, So I suppose in a way, part of the reason I felt so inspired is I am actually relatively old. I'm 46.
46 years
so
old? Blimey, that is ancient.
Can you imagine? I've got that far.
I'm amazed you even know how to use a phone. It's incredible. You've done very well, Emma.
That's something else. But I suppose in a way, because I am a similar age to the current Prime Minister, it makes me think, oh my God, what happened in her?
You know what, Emma? I think she was probably always like that. I mean, she actually famously wasn't always like that. She had other opinions, and as soon as she changed all of her opinions about everything, she then insisted that she would never change her opinion about anything. But, apart from that. All right, thanks a lot, Emma. Rona says, evening, Nick. I was in need of a chill out last night, so I watched Koyaanisqatsi again. Just sublime. Have you seen the other two films in the Qatsi trilogy, asks Rona. Yes, I have. There's Poa-Qatsi. I think there's the one called Nakoi-Qatsi, which I tried to watch but didn't get very far, and Baraka, which is not called Qatsi, but I believe that's in the same series. Excellent, excellent, excellent. It's my favourite film of all time. Koyaanisqatsi. Ask for it by name at an internet near you. Koyaanisqatsi.